A single chilling photograph. A man arrested for a heinous crime, smiling. Not a nervous twitch, but a wide, unsettling grin. This image is the start of a story that will make you question everything you think you know about human nature. This is the story of the smiling killer, a man whose confession was not spoken in words, but etched in his every action, every glance, and that haunting smile. It was a quiet town, the kind of place where everyone knows their neighbors and serious crime is something you only see on TV. That sense of security was shattered on a Tuesday morning when a beloved local figure was found murdered in their own home. The scene was brutal, leaving the community in shock and the police with few initial leads. There was no forced entry, suggesting the victim knew their attacker. As detectives began to piece together the victim's final hours, one name kept coming up: a quiet, unassuming man who lived just a few blocks away. When the police brought him in for questioning, he wasn't what they expected. He was calm, polite, almost detached. He answered their questions with simple yes or no responses, offering no extra information. Hours turned into a day, and the man's story never wavered. He claimed he was home all night. He had an alibi, though a weak one. The lead detective, a veteran with decades of experience, felt something was off. It wasn't what the man was saying, it was what he wasn't. The interrogation room was tense. The detective decided to change tactics. He stopped asking direct questions about the murder and started talking about the victim, painting a picture of a kind, generous person who was loved by everyone. He spoke of the family's grief, the community's fear. As he spoke, he watched the suspect. The man's face remained a mask of indifference, but his hands, hidden under the table, began to tremble. A small, almost imperceptible crack in his armor. This is where the psychological battle truly began. The detective knew a direct confession was unlikely. He had to build a case from the man's behavior to find the truth hidden behind the silence. He brought in a forensic psychologist to observe the interrogations. She noticed something peculiar. Whenever the detective mentioned specific details of the crime scene, details not released to the public, the man's heart rate, monitored by a discreet device, would spike. He remained outwardly calm, but his body was betraying him. The team decided to push harder. They presented him with evidence, piece by piece. A fiber found at the scene that matched a sweater he owned. A partial shoe print that was consistent with his size and brand of shoe. With each piece of evidence, the man's composure started to fray. He stopped making eye contact. His leg began to bounce uncontrollably. But still, he said nothing. He just sat there, a statue of denial. The breakthrough came in the most unexpected way. The detective, frustrated and exhausted, slid a photograph across the table. It wasn't a grisly crime scene photo. It was a picture of the victim, smiling, taken at a community picnic just a week before the murder. He said, "This is who you took from us. Look at them. Remember them." The suspect looked down at the photo. For a long moment, the room was silent. Then, slowly, a smile spread across his face. It was a wide, ear-to-ear grin, completely devoid of warmth or humanity. It was a smile of triumph. The psychologist later described it as duping delight, a term for the pleasure a person feels when they believe they are successfully manipulating or deceiving others. In that moment, he wasn't just a suspect. He was a performer, basking in the horror he had created. He believed he was smarter than everyone in the room, that he would walk away free. That smile was his confession, a nonverbal admission of guilt more powerful than any spoken words. It was a window into a mind devoid of empathy, a chilling glimpse of the monster lurking behind a human face. The police now knew they had their man. But a smile, however chilling, isn't enough to secure a conviction in a court of law. They needed to connect his psychological state to the physical evidence. They revisited his home for another search. This time, they knew what they were looking for. Not just a weapon or bloody clothes, but something that would reveal the man behind the mask. Tucked away in a dusty corner of his basement, they found it, a collection of journals. The journals were a terrifying chronicle of obsession and resentment. Page after page detailed a fixation on the victim, twisting their kindness into perceived slights and their success into a personal insult. The writings revealed a deep-seated narcissism and a complete inability to feel remorse. He saw the victim not as a person, but as an object, an obstacle to his own fragile ego. The motive wasn't robbery or passion. It was the simple, terrifying desire to extinguish a light that he felt outshone his own. The smiling confession in the interrogation room was the final act of a long-planned performance. The trial was a media sensation. The community packed the courtroom, desperate to understand how this could happen in their town. The suspect sat at the defense table, wearing the same placid expression he had during the interrogation. His defense team argued there was no direct evidence, no confession. But the prosecution had a powerful story to tell. They combined the physical evidence with the psychological profile and the damning words from his own journals. The turning point came when the lead detective took the stand. He described the moment the suspect smiled at the victim's photograph. He recounted the cold, triumphant look in the man's eyes. As he spoke, a hush fell over the courtroom. The jury was captivated, not just by the evidence, but by the raw human drama. They saw the smile not as an ambiguous gesture, but as a signature, the final flourish of a killer proud of his work. In the end, the jury delivered a guilty verdict. The smiling killer's performance was over. As he was led away, he looked out at the gallery, and for a fleeting moment, the mask slipped. There was no smile, only a look of pure, unadulterated rage. His delusion of control had been shattered. He had confessed without saying a word, and justice had listened. This case serves as a haunting reminder that the most terrifying monsters are often the ones who hide in plain sight, their true nature concealed behind a disarming and deadly smile. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into the complexities of the human mind. Stay safe and always trust your instincts.